Did a French king force us onto our backs to give birth? We dive into the persistent rumor about King Louis XIV and how his alleged viewing preferences may have cemented the supine delivery position in modern hospitals. We'll learn why gravity-friendly positions like deep squats and all fours open the pelvis, and how mobility and the proper foundation can prepare your body for a dynamic delivery. Also, from Cardi B giving birth to the 2025 March of Dimes report card for maternal health in the news segment. This is Wednesday Wellness to Breathe, your journey to wellness and maternal health. Welcome. I'm your host, Brittany, group fitness instructor and maternal health advocate. If you're finding your content helpful, please take a moment to follow us on your favorite podcast platform and subscribe so you don't miss any of our future discussions. Disclaimer. Our aim with this episode is to offer a supportive space for learning and discussions about wellness. However, it's vital to understand that the information shared is not a substitute for a professional medical consultation. We encourage you to use what you learn here as a starting point for conversations with your own medical provider, who can officially diagnose and develop a treatment plan tailored specifically for you. Welcome to Maternal Health in the News, our segment where we dive into stories that have my maternal health senses tingling. We have two great stories. We're going to first start with our celebrity birth news. According to TMZ, Cardi B had her baby boy with NFL star Stefon Diggs in early November 2025. First, congrats to both of them on the birth of their baby. But Cardi also started a conversation on social media about working out postpartum. Recently, there was a video of her working out in the gym. To be fair, I don't know how recent, but Cardi started a conversation with her last baby Blossom about getting back into the gym after birth. It's interesting. It has my post and prenatal fitness senses tingling. So I found this article from Prenatal Fitness from October 2025. Quote, postpartum return to running in high impact, end quote. The article basically states it's very tempting for you to get back into your regular workout programs once you get the green light from your midwife or your doctor. However, rushing back to high impact activities like running and jumping before your body has been prepared to handle the stress of that impact can actually set you up for potential injury and pelvic floor issues. For example, last week we talked about it in the soda can core episode, where the top of your diaphragm is the top of your soda can, the bottom of your soda is your pelvic floor, and basically the wrapping around the soda is your transverse abdominis for protecting your spine and your internal organs. I just want to emphasize, whether you had a vaginal delivery or a C-section, the first step is working on restoring strength to your core and pelvic floor. And that's 5 to 8 minutes a day. Again, any sign of leaking, urine, fecal, or blood, that is a sign your body is not quite ready for that particular type of movement. And if you have any difficulty with activating your pelvic floor muscles when you're working out or trying to activate your core, that is your sign to reach out to a pelvic floor therapist. Hopefully that gave a little bit of clarity to the conversations about getting back into working out postpartum. And lastly, again, congratulations to Cardi B on her postpartum journey. It will be very interesting to see her postpartum journey as she prepares for her tour after this album. Now on to story 2, the 2025 March of Dimes report card in national crisis. For a little bit of background, since 2008, the March of Dimes has released this report to educate and advocate for better mom and baby outcomes across the United States, Washington, D.C., and Puerto Rico. Unfortunately, for the 4th consecutive year, the United States earned a D+ grade for preterm birth, marking the longest stretch of the lowest grade in report card history. So based on the report card, 16 states have received Ds, 8 states have received Fs, and only 1 state has received an A. I put a link in the description to the report card so you can do your research to see what state received an A and where your state, if you're in the United States, because we did our Spotify Wrapped and we have some people in the UK. Hi, people from the UK. But we're going to use my home state of Florida as an example. We received a grade of a D+. So positive, the severe maternal morbidity in our state has improved, But the infant mortality, the lower C-section, and the maternal mortality has worsened. And why? I can hear you asking on the other side, why? The answer: inadequate access to quality of health care before, during, and after pregnancy. And we discussed this in an episode about social determinants of health and not having access to that quality. And even in our first maternal health in the news segment, we talked about hospitals and OBs closing down. Honestly, there's this amazing article that supports the March of Dimes 2025 report card and why Florida received the D. So this is from West Central Florida's NPR station, a September 2025 article, quote, infant mortality efforts in Jacksonville face local funding cut and federal policy changes, end quote. Duval County's infant mortality rate is higher than average for Florida, especially among Black babies. So the Northeast Florida Healthy Start Coalition Community Health Workers Program was funded by the American Resource Plan dollars. Those dollars would have funded two initiatives: community health workers and syphilis screenings for infants. Unfortunately, the Jacksonville City Council removed the funding for syphilis prevention initiatives, leaving the funding for community health worker programs in the final budget. And this ties into receiving quality care. I did some research and I found an ABC article from this year. This type of syphilis occurs when a pregnant person with untreated syphilis passes the infection to the baby either during pregnancy or at birth. It can be treated with antibiotics. It's best to treat as soon as possible to prevent more severe complications of disease for the baby. And again, this article is from 2025. Public health experts told ABC that this type of syphilis is largely preventable, and left untreated, it can be dangerous or even deadly. 3 infants, unfortunately, in New York have died from this not being treated this year. That's not the only challenge that Duval County is facing. In its request to reduce infant mortality, the effects of federal immigration enforcement, and impending federal policy changes to Medicare eligibility. In the article, there's a family pediatrician named Dr. Christopher Watson. He estimates fewer than 10% of his patients have commercial insurance. So commercial insurance is like the Aetnas, the Cignas, those private insurances that people get from their employers. Nearly a third are on Medicaid, the federal health insurance program for low-income people. When President Donald Trump signed that one big beautiful bill into law on July 4th, the nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office estimates 7.8 million people would lose access to Medicaid over the next decade. Dr. Watson says the legislation, which was supported by the Northeast Florida's full congressional delegation, will have an adverse local impact. And this is a medical provider stating this, quote, with lower reimbursement with people who have Medicaid, a lot of places will stop taking Medicaid, which will create a care deficit for women. With the laws and policies, I think we will see an increase in infant mortality, end quote. Which is unfortunate because majority of the people in this country have insurance because of their employer or Medicaid. And so as people are slowly losing their jobs and Medicaid's getting cut, it's getting harder and harder for people to receive that quality care based on their insurance, which, especially during the time of pregnancy, is a really scary time. In the article, Meredith Smith of Cradle Cincinnati, it is a nonprofit that has reduced infant mortality in Ohio's third largest county, found it was able to reduce infant mortality through providing postpartum support groups and working to ensure the basic needs of mothers. That included stable housing, reliable transportation, and affordable childcare. And this is a quote from Meredith Smith. We have a lot of moms that have access to prenatal care late in the stages of their pregnancy. I think it's because they don't know how to navigate the system, lack of knowledge and lack of resources. That's something we do, share resources with the mom, end quote. And as someone whose business focuses on helping women and birthing parents and children postpartum, that is really true. After hosting the climb this year, the realization of how postpartum care is really neglected and how a lot of maternal morbidity deaths happen are postpartum. So, from the perspective of this article and the March of Dimes 2025 report card, access to quality healthcare, aka social determinants of health, is an integral stepping stone to combat these grim maternal health numbers. Again, I'm guilty of putting things on the back burner and ignoring it, thinking it will be handled. But in the times we are now, we need to be more aware, ask questions, and be knowledgeable to advocate for yourself, your baby, or family members. And speaking of local impact, this is where you come in. We want to cover the stories that matter most to our community, the local maternal health wins, the policy changes in your town, or the personal mattress sense experiences you feel need amplification. If you have a local story, a piece of news, or community resource you think would be perfect for our maternal health in the news segment, please reach out to us. Podcast, PODCAST, at prismaticvenusfitness.com. You can send the details directly to our dedicated email address. Let's share these vital stories together. I really do want to thank you for listening to our last Maternal Health in the News segment of 2025. Let's get into the episode. You just heard us discuss the vital steps for safely returning to high impact exercise after birth. But knowing where to start and most importantly, how to progress safely can feel overwhelming. That's why we highly recommend the Prenatal Fitness, your guide to running during pregnancy and returning postpartum. This comprehensive resource takes the guesswork out of recovery and it gives you guidance before you lace up your running shoes. It ensures you're not just recovering, you're recovering stronger and smarter. It's a great resource. And I personally use it to do the Find Your Pace running series on the PVF Tribe Instagram to give great tips for birthing parents to find their pace during pregnancy and postpartum. Find the affiliate link to the guide right now in the show notes below. Take the first step toward reclaiming your fitness safely. According to Dr. Mark Sloan, rumor has it that King Louis XIV wanted to be able to see his mistress giving birth since men were not allowed in the birthing arena in the late 1600s. So basically, he arranged the doctor to put her laying flat on her back so he could peer from another room. And you're probably like, Brittany, this is amazing information. I appreciate this. But how has King Louis of France from way back in the day wanted to see his side piece deliver from another room impact me delivering in the today? I want you to think of the movie Mean Girls. Remember when they cut the shirt for Regina George and you could see her bra and then everyone else started doing it? Because it worked for someone in power, why not enact it to everybody? And this is way before hospitals and things were enacted, but a monarch did it, so why can't a normal common person do it? We're not going to talk about how creepy that is, but we're going to keep going with the episode. So kind of breaking down the human anatomy a little bit, humans have been giving birth for millions of years, but only recently have we really begun to study this process. Humans are biped, meaning we walk on both feet. Because we are biped, we have narrower pelvic constriction, and our offspring have large brains, aka big heads. A large head must fit through our smaller, more oval-shaped pelvic opening, which laying on your back constricts that. So there are different birthing positions that actually have gravity on our side, like squats, standing while you're holding on to somebody or something like a table or a chair, hands on your knees or elbows on your knees, all fours, a quadruped, like hands under your shoulders, knees under your hips, and seated position. So those are some different birthing positions that gravity is on our side and kind of opens the pelvis. So knowing these positions is one thing, but feeling comfortable and strong in them during labor is another. That's where prenatal preparation comes in, and that's where Brittany's fitness expertise comes in. Pregnancy places a lot of stress and demand on the body. And even though we discuss the importance of delivering in different positions, like we just said, squat, standing, quadruped, for gravity to be on your side and to get ready for your Olympic event, regardless if you are a skilled athlete, a novice, or a group fitness instructor like myself. Getting started with your foundation is integral for your beginning training for pregnancy. This helps the pregnant person establish a solid foundation moving forward, not just through pregnancy, but postpartum and getting back to your regular activities like we discussed in our maternal health in the news segment. First, starting with core and pelvic floor activation, strengthening and releasing the pelvic floor for delivery. We discussed it briefly last week in our soda can core episode. Pregnancy pulls the body out of neutral alignment. Basically, our pelvis gets pushed forward, our shoulders droop because our body is being pulled by our growing belly to pull the body forward, which causes all those aches and pains and increases the stress on the soft tissue because your body is trying to be upright, but the belly is pulling your body forward. So for neutral alignment, we stop 5 bony landmarks: your ears, shoulders, hips, knees, and ankles. One primary bony landmark I want to focus on are the hips. So in neutral pelvis. So basically your rib cage is aligned over your hips, but some participants I even have in my group fitness class like, Brittany, how do I do that? I want to give you a visual. Imagine you have 2 flashlights on your hips and you're in the dark and you cannot see. Push your hips forward so the flashlights can guide you through your workout or through life. And then you feel that difference where you feel your hips are stuck underneath your rib cage and your shoulders. Another way you can tell is that your chin is in line with your belly button. Now moving on to core activation. Proper core activation is the most important move you can make in any exercise, and I will emphasize that 1000%. We talked about it last week briefly in our soda can core episode where we talked about the core canister. We talked about 360 breathing, deep breathing into the core canister to activate all 4 points of the pelvic floor, which helps strengthen and lengthen the pelvic floor muscles. Now, you're like, Brittany, that's great. You keep mentioning this episode, but why is it important? I want to emphasize that keeping a neutral alignment, like we just talked about during pregnancy, birth, and parenthood, assists with moving during pregnancy and postpartum. When you need to move in the different positions, such as a squat, quadruped, standing while holding on to something, having the foundation to move and keep your body in that position without the additional stress is really beneficial. And proper core activation helps your pelvic floor guide the baby out during delivery. Your body remembers. So having trained your body to deep breathe prior to delivery, your body will remember to deep breathe to activate your pelvic floor in the position that you choose to help guide your baby during delivery. And I want to talk about 3 main talking points: hip mobility and opening, quad positioning focus, so we're focusing on one position, and mind and body connection. So focusing on hip mobility, opening. Most people think hip mobility, you need a lot of flexibility, but actually you need mobility. They're one and the same, but they're different. And I can see you asking, Brittany, what's the difference? Flexibility is the range of motion possible around the joint. Mobility is how well the joint moves. As you've been listening, I'm training to finish my prenatal yoga certification, but I'm also trained as a circle mobility instructor. And mobility is important to lubricate the joints, to release tension and stimulate the nervous system to enhance muscle activation. Second, we're going into focusing on one of the positions we mentioned, quadruped. This position not only feels good, but it is also friendly for getting the baby into a good position because it creates a more open space in the pelvis. Remember, we talked about humans are biped. Getting into the quad position opens the pelvis. A great position in prenatal yoga to think of the quad position is cat and cow. Think of it. Your hands are under your shoulders, your knees are under your hips, and your belly is down. You're in a great position to promote optimal fetal position and promote the link between movement and breath. You're activating your spine, your lower back. It's great for gravity to be on your side in this position. Last, the mind and body connection. And a lot of people don't think of this in fitness, but directing the focus to an external thought process is a helpful way to manage pain during delivery. Even in my interview with Alicia Hurt, the doula, having something external to focus on helps manage the pain. To get us focused on external and not necessarily the pain, talking about 360 breathing. It not only activates the pelvic floor, but impacts your nervous system. Breathing into the diaphragm is 360 breathing, but a lot of people are apical breathing, using their shoulders as their primary respiratory organ, which actually causes the fight or flight symptoms to happen in your body. But breathing into your diaphragm takes the body out of fight or flight and actually helps slow down the ongoing emotional stress. If any of these things sound like something you would like in your birth plan, please speak to your doctor or your midwife or your doula and document this in your birth plan. Everything we discuss is greatly influenced by your medical provider. And that brings us to the end of this journey. From Cardi B to King Louis XIV to the importance of neutral alignment and mobility. I hope this episode has left you feeling informed, empowered, and ready to reclaim your movement choices. This is our final episode of 2025 as we head into the holiday season. Makes me sad saying that, but I truly want to thank you, the listener, for listening and for all your incredible support this year. I started this podcast, oh my goodness, in January of this year, and I did not think I would make it this far to episode 26, but here I am. But before I go, I wanted to share some exciting news. I'm working on some truly amazing projects for 2026. If you or someone you know is interested in prenatal or postpartum fitness, health coaching, or fitness classes, or receiving our future newsletter, I place a Google sign up link right in the show notes. Sign up there to receive updates and exclusive content starting in the new year. And speaking of the new year, we'll be back on your feed Tuesday, January 14th with a fantastic episode, an interview with the amazing Arnice Foster. She's a neuroencoding specialist, a fitness coach, and a successful lawyer. We're going to be discussing how she balances it all as a wife and a mother, and her new book, if you're looking for a good book club recommendation. To ensure you don't miss that interview or any future episodes, please take a moment right now to subscribe where you listen to your podcast. It's the best way to support the show and keep these important discussions coming into your feed. From my heart to yours, thank you again for being such dedicated listeners. I look forward to speaking with everyone in the new year. I wish everyone a happy holidays and may you find rest, peace, and health in the weeks ahead. Bye, everybody.